Hello, my name's Emily Simcock. I'm a veterinary advisor for NARDIS with a special interest in ruminant nutrition. This is going to be a quick summary about the really important topic for both dairy and beef cows of supporting immunity around the time of calving, in particular about the role of minerals. Okay, I'm going to try and explain a few key points on this subject. Firstly, what are the impacts that poor immunity has on cows at calving time and into early lactation? Then I'll talk about what causes poor immune function and something called oxidative stress, which is really important to appreciate. We'll have a look at the essential bits of nutrition management that help ensure the immune system's working. Then we'll look specifically at what the role for trace minerals is in this system and how the requirements increase at certain times. Finally, we'll have a look at the practicalities of how minerals can be supplied to meet the cow's demand at this time. We know the majority of disease problems in cows occur from the time of calving to about a month into lactation. This is 75% of the problems in dairy cows. And this includes the metabolic diseases, things like ketosis and fatty liver, displaced abomasums and milk fevers, as well as those diseases that are caused by infections. So mastitis and infections of the uterus or metritis are really common. We also know that many negative fertility effects are a result of these diseases and the cow's nutritional status around the time of calving too. So the metabolic diseases, the infectious diseases, the subclinical issues and fertility can't be separated. The causes of these issues are all related predominantly by nutrition, but that means the prevention and the approach to prevention is all related and is all the same too. And if you can solve the problem for one, you can fix, many of the other problems at the same time. I'm going to try and explain what oxidative stress is all about. So just before calving, the cow's demand for energy, protein, vitamins and minerals all increase really sharply, and this coincides with a time when she's eating less. So the cow uses her own body fat and tissues for energy and protein, and that's normal to a certain extent, but it causes problems if it happens to excess. When fat's burnt as an energy source, reactive molecules called oxidants are released. Now, these have a direct negative effect on the immune system, but they also trigger some inflammatory pathways. The inflammation and the molecules involved trigger more fat burning, and these then create a feedback cycle of increasing harm, as well as increasing effects on the immune system. The whole process is termed oxidative stress, and it's thought to be the common factor which underpins all the disease processes around calving time. Pre-calving nutrition is a huge subject, but I want to say one really important message, and that's that the best defense against oxidative stress is to minimize the amount of fat being burnt, and that comes down to energy intakes primarily. It's essential to avoid letting these girls, both dairy and beef, lose excessive amounts of weight. To do this, get the body condition right before they enter the dry period. Make sure the rations are correct for energy, protein and minerals, and really importantly that it prevents milk fever. And make sure the diet's well preserved and palatable so the cows are eating it well and getting what you think they are. Need to manage the access and availability so the cows can actually get to eat as much as they should. And it's also really important to manage the sort of social stresses which hammer intakes. Getting this part of nutrition right is essential. Trace minerals have a really important role in this period of high risk around calving. The cow's defense against these reactive oxidant molecules is to have plentiful antioxidants. So vitamins A and E, along with some trace minerals, are vital parts of these antioxidant molecules. The minerals zinc, copper, manganese and selenium in particular have antioxidant roles, and they all can be in short supply in the diet. If the mineral levels are insufficient to meet demand, the animal's health and performance can be impaired, and these effects on immunity, fertility and growth, as you can see on the chart on the right, occur well before any clinical signs of mineral deficiency are seen. These minerals will be required at greater levels during periods when the levels of oxidants are higher, such as around calving, when a degree of fat burning will occur in all cows. Currently, minerals should be supplied in the diet to a standard recommended level called NRC. And this is because the content of a diet, whether that's grass, silage, cereals or whatever, can almost never supply all the minerals a cow needs. Supplementing is most reliably done by adding minerals to the diet, and most mixed rations, blends or cakes would have minerals incorporated into them, and sometimes a forage-based diet can have minerals added on top. Other options include boluses, addition to water, or free access through provision of licks or blocks. Aside from boluses and water inclusion, all these methods depend on cows eating, which we know they do less of at the time of calving. All oral forms of trace mineral supplementation are also subject to antagonism in the rumen, and that's where some minerals bind others and effectively prevent their absorption. We know that absorption can vary from less than 1% to 34% for some of these key minerals, and the chart on the right shows that. So the diet should meet NRC recommendations, but that doesn't guarantee the animal is absorbing enough all of the time, and there is an argument for strategic supplementation above the NRC levels at times of high demand. However, the diet as a whole should not contain minerals at levels higher than those NRC recommendations. We know that excess supply is an issue in many dairy herds, and this can lead to chronic oversupply and problems of toxicity. In addition to the traditional ways to provide minerals, there is now an alternative option available on the UK market, and this is a combined mineral solution which is designed to strategically supplement during periods of high demand. And unlike the minerals provided orally, this is said to avoid the problems of interaction and availability that occur in the rumen. The product's said to be highly bioavailable, and animals can use it rapidly, as soon as the minerals are provided. There has been a number of overseas studies done in cows that were all receiving the recommended mineral supply through the diet, so the diets were not deficient in minerals. And those studies have reported improved health outcomes for both the cows and the calves after strategic supplementation around calving time. The studies in dairy cows have included reduced cases of clinical mastitis, lower cell counts and lower cases of whites, along with fewer stillbirths and improvements in calf health. The studies in suckler cows have suggested tighter calving periods as a result of improved fertility. Okay, so just to summarise this whistle-stop tour through nutrition and immunity at calving, we've spoken about oxidative stress being a really significant factor in lots of diseases around the time of calving, both metabolic and infectious. Number one is ensuring that there's adequate energy intake. But what we've spoken about is the importance of trace minerals having key antioxidant roles in the defense against oxidative stress. And we know that they're required at greater levels around the time of calving to meet this extra demand. It's really important to supply dietary minerals properly at the recommended levels, but not above. And there is some evidence to suggest that there are health benefits from boosting minerals strategically at periods of high demand. Okay, there's lots more information on the NARDIS website if you want to find out more about any health or disease topics, and thanks for listening.